Just when you thought the Trump administration could not find someone less qualified than Ed Martin to serve as the top prosecutor in Washington, D.C., they managed to outdo themselves. Donald Trump just took to Truth Social, writing, "I am pleased to announce that Judge Jeanine Pirro will be appointed the interim United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. Jeanine was Assistant District Attorney for Westchester County, New York, and then went on to serve as County Judge and District Attorney, where she was the first woman ever to be elected into these positions. During her time in office, Jeanine was a powerful crusader for victims of crime. Her establishment of the Domestic Violence Bureau in her prosecutor's office was the first in the nation. She excelled in all ways. In addition to her legal career, Jeanine previously hosted her own Fox News show, Justice with Judge Jeanine, for 10 years and is currently co-host of The Five, one of the highest rated shows on television. Jeanine is incredibly well qualified for this position and is considered one of the top district attorneys in the history of the state of New York. She's in a class by herself. Congratulations, Jeanine." Yeah, that's right. Fox host Judge Jeanine is now the interim U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C., the one who was named in the Dominion voting systems lawsuit for spreading election lies, the one who was suspended by Fox News for Islamophobic comments about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, the one whose ex-husband received a last-minute pardon from Trump on his way out the door in 2021 for tax evasion. This is who Trump put in charge of federal prosecutors in our nation's capital. If America wasn't great before, this ought to do it. The irony here is that the previous interim U.S. Attorney in D.C., Ed Martin, was pretty fucking bad. Martin is a Stop the Steal organizer who was appointed by Trump on day one of his administration. This is a guy who called on die-hard true Americans to work until their last breath to stop the steal at a rally the day before the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Martin had absolutely zero prosecutorial experience before Trump appointed him. Instead, his main qualifications were, surprise, surprise, his unwavering loyalty to Donald Trump and his work defending January 6 rioters. Once in office, Martin immediately got to work firing prosecutors who had worked on January 6 cases, demoting senior career attorneys to entry-level positions, and launching investigations into Trump's political enemies. The guy was so extreme that he even presented an award to Timothy Hale Cuccinelli, a January 6 rioter who had posed with a Hitler mustache and who the Justice Department called an avowed white supremacist and Nazi sympathizer. When questioned about this, Martin claimed he didn't know about Hale Cuccinelli's background, despite having mentioned the controversy in an earlier interview with him. Martin's nomination was so toxic that even Republicans couldn't stomach it. That's saying something. Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina, he's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, announced that he wouldn't support Martin's nomination, effectively killing it, considering Republicans have a 12-10 majority on that committee. But with Tillis defecting, that makes it 11-11, and without a clear majority, Martin's nomination is dead on arrival. It's not able to leave that committee. Tillis, who, by the way, is no moderate, said that he could support Martin for every other U.S. attorney position except Washington, D.C., where January 6 happened. And so, recognizing the writing on the wall, Trump announced yesterday that he was withdrawing Martin's nomination. His interim term expires on May 20th, and without Senate confirmation, somebody else would have needed to be appointed. At the same time, we all breathed a collective sigh of relief because, after all, how could Trump possibly find someone worse than Ed Martin? Yeah, we were wrong. If you thought Ed Martin lacked qualifications, wait until you get a load of Jeanine Pirro's resume for this position. Yes, she was a district attorney in Westchester County, New York back in the 90s, but since then, her legal career has mostly consisted of hosting TV shows and spreading conspiracy theories.
I left the stage going downstairs and I saw her and I had to walk by her and I said, "Whoopi, I fought for victims my whole life," something like that. And she started cursing at me.
What did she say? Tell everybody what she said without saying it.
She said,
"Blank you.
F you, F you." And I said, "Whoopi, did you just say F you?" I mean, she was right here. And then she said, "Get the F out of this building." And she yelled at me again, "Get the F out of this building." And I felt like I was less than dirt. I couldn't believe that I went there to have a conversation. I got thrown off the set, thrown out of the building. And as I walked away, she's yelling at me, "Get the F out of this building." Sean, it's sad. What these people have turned into is sad. What is happening?
As I mentioned before, this is the same Jeanine Pirro who is at the center of the Dominion voting system's defamation lawsuit against Fox News. She repeatedly used her platform to spread baseless election fraud claims that Fox News eventually had to admit were false when they settled the case for $787 million. A Fox producer even warned in an email that Pirro shouldn't be put on air because she was pulling conspiracy theories from dark corners of the web. Yep, sounds like the perfect person to put in charge of an actual U.S. Attorney's office in the nation's capital. And yet the reason that Pirro got the job here is obvious. She was one of Donald Trump's earliest and most vocal defenders during the 2016 Access Hollywood tape scandal. She attended his belligerent election night speech in 2020 where he falsely claimed victory. And as I mentioned earlier, Trump pardoned her ex-husband for tax evasion charges as one of his final acts in office in 2021. So let's be clear about what's happening here. After failing to install a Stop the Steal organizer as DC's top prosecutor, Trump has now tapped a Fox News host who spread election lies and has a clear conflict of interest due to Trump's pardon of her ex-husband. This isn't about qualifications, and it certainly isn't about justice. This is about Donald Trump installing a loyalist who will use the power of federal prosecution to target his enemies and protect his allies, just as it's always been. Remember, the U.S. Attorney for D.C. doesn't just handle local prosecutions. This office handles prosecutions of federal crimes in the nation's capital, including those involving federal officials and federal facilities. In other words, this is the office that would have jurisdiction over many of the investigations into Donald Trump himself, his administration officials, and his allies in Congress. So when Trump put someone like Jeanine Pirro in charge of that office, he's not looking for a fair and impartial prosecutor, he is looking for a shield and a weapon. A shield to protect him and his allies from accountability, and a weapon to go after his perceived enemies. The scariest part of all of this is that there is virtually no check on Trump's ability to appoint an interim U.S. attorney. Unlike the permanent position, an interim appointment doesn't require Senate confirmation. Donald Trump can put Pirro in that position for 120 days without any congressional oversight, very much in the same way he did with Ed Martin. And in 120 days, someone with a vendetta and a point to prove can do an extraordinary amount of damage to our justice system. From there, she might be confirmed by a rubber stamp Republican majority in the Senate, or if not, who knows? Maybe Trump puts Don Jr. in charge because we live in hell, so why not? What we're witnessing right now is nothing less than the weaponization of the Department of Justice, something that Trump has falsely accused Democrats of doing for years. It is projection, pure and simple. And now, he's trying to make his accusations a reality by appointing people whose sole qualification is their willingness to do his bidding, regardless of law or ethics. If there was ever a moment to be alarmed by the direction of our Department of Justice under Trump, this is it. The progression from Ed Martin to Jeanine Pirro isn't a step sideways, it is a leap further into abyss of turning our justice system into a personal tool for the president's retribution. So as much as we wanted to have celebrated Thom Tillis blocking Ed Martin's nomination, we now are looking at someone even more dangerous taking his spot. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.